So if you're going to take anything away from this episode, it is that time does not heal you. You heal you. Time aids the healing, and you have got plenty of it. Hello guys, and welcome back to another episode of Coming Up for Air with myself, Lou. I hope we're all okay. Welcome to my Monday. Welcome to there being lovely lighting today. Such good lighting. The British weather is pulling through. We've got blue skies today, which is making everybody's mood increasingly better. My sister texted me this morning saying the blue skies and the sun is making me feel so much better. It has such a positive impact on me recording these in this room. So yeah, welcome back. I hope we're all okay. Hope you had a lovely weekend. I went live on TikTok on Friday. It was very nerve-wracking. So thank you to everybody that tuned in and supported me. I saw a few names that I recognized underneath the screen, but I should have probably done a little bit more research into going live because I didn't really understand what was going on whilst I was live. And I was live for like an hour and it went really, really fast. I thought I was only going to be able to do like half an hour because I was like, I wanted to make the live about the podcast and like introducing myself because I kind of sit behind my videos on TikTok. I don't want to do that anymore. I want my personality to come across in my TikTok videos now. I feel like I've built a community, I've built a following, and now it's time for me to help more and kind of like niche down in what I want to get across on TikTok. So I thought, oh, I'll just go live. And I did, and I really enjoyed it, but it is very nerve-wracking because here, when I'm doing this, I can edit it. And things that I don't want to put in there, if it just like waffles, if I waffle on and like it comes off my tongue, I can take it away. Whereas on live, you have to be very, very careful with what you say. So I was really conscious of like people asking me questions, very conscious of my answers. So yeah, I'm going to try and do that probably like once a week. I don't know whether doing it on a Friday is actually going to work the best because I think I did it at a time where people were at work. So I'm going to have to either do it on a Thursday evening when everybody's finished work. I'm thinking that could be quite good. I don't really tend to do anything on a Thursday evening or a Sunday evening. The reason why it worked well on Friday is because I go out on a Friday. So I looked okay. I was all dressed up, all glammed up, ready to go out. And so I didn't mind showing up on my live. Whereas on a Sunday evening, like last night, I was quite hungover. So don't really want to be showing up on live hungover, but we'll see. What I'm going to do next time is not answer the questions in the live. I'm going to wait and then I'm going to devise the answers in the next live. So it's going to be like a knock-on effect. So hopefully people that have asked questions can then come back, or I'm going to incorporate them into my podcast episode. That's actually not a bad idea. Maybe I could go live on a Thursday and then answer the questions from the live on the Friday. That will actually work really well. That's actually a really good idea. We'll trial that this week. So I'll go live on a Thursday evening. And obviously when this is published now, you guys won't know. So maybe I'll put something out on my social media. So live on the Thursday, you can ask as many questions as you like. I will just talk on the live. And then I can answer the questions in the podcast episode that goes live on the Friday. That was so good. That was like we were just brainstormed together and you didn't even know that you were going to be a part of that. And now you're a part of that. Anyway, so welcome back to Coming Up for Air. I am, like I said, I was hungover yesterday. I had a very, very, very nice weekend. I am learning more and more and more about how I'm going to manage my time going forward with this. So I found that my Fridays was a lot more chilled. It was just a case of uploading this onto all the platforms that I'm on now. So if you aren't already and you do want more content, you can go over to my Patreon. The link is in my bio. You'll get connected to my Stan store. And then if you just follow the link to my Patreon, you can sign up then. It's $4.50 a month. You get 2 additional episodes a week, or a big long one, depending on how much I want to talk about a topic. They go live every single Wednesday. So you get episodes on a Wednesday, and then you get the longer hour episode on the Friday. So I feel like it's nice because it like breaks up your week, because then you can go through the weekend, listen to my hour one, and then literally 3 days into the week, you get another 2 episodes should you need them. I talk about everything on there: being single, being a single girl, personal things that I went through in my breakup, the house move, the advice that I took, the money splits, everything. I talk about absolutely everything on there, because obviously I feel more protected over there because I've got the subscription fee over there, and I can see who's joined up as well. I know that sounds weird, but I've had a bad review in the past, and the things that they were saying were stuff that only someone that knew me and my ex personally, that's what they were putting out on the internet. I had to contact Apple to get it taken down. It was really quite sad that someone came for me, but it is what it is. Obviously anybody can make up a username, but on Patreon I can see who it is, so I can see the details and everything, so I can kind of have more control over who listens to my content over there, whereas this is just kind of like a free-for-all, same as like my live. So I think I had like, at one point I had like 25 people on the live, which for me is great. Like I said, the times and stuff could probably have had more of an impact if I had waited for people to finish work. But I was just very excited to go live, to be fair. When I clicked off of it and I went back into the live so I can see the sort of breakdown and analytics of how well it did, if it brought people to my page, which it did, I had 1,700 people watching that live, which is hilarious because you can silently look at a live in the background, and if you click on it you get obviously entered into someone's live, but you can watch it without clicking on it. So I had 1,700 people watching me, and I can't tell who is. I can't control who is watching me live. And obviously people can argue, well, you know, you decide to do it. Yes, I'm not complaining about it. What I'm saying is my Patreon is where I send you, because I talk about quite personal things over there. So if that is something you want to be a part of, I've got a lovely little community over there at the moment. I want to build and build and build and build and build and grow that and get some decent content over to you guys. Last week was quite stressful for me. I couldn't get my head into what I wanted to do, but I have been focusing on updating my CV and applying for some part-time jobs. So my head was kind of in that Wednesday, Thursday last week. And so this week now I feel like, because I put my feelers out there and I've connected with a few people on LinkedIn and stuff, I feel like I can now come back to creating more content for you guys. So yes, like I said, if you do want more content, the link is in my bio. Click on that, follow the link to my Patreon, sign up, have a gander. There's probably double the amount of episodes. There must be over 100 episodes on there, easily over 100 episodes. So yes, and if you have any questions on that as well, if you wanted to know what sort of content was on there, just let me know and I will screenshot a couple of the episodes and you can have a look and see if it is something for you. And also you can cancel at any time. You can just come, say hey, and then you can go whenever you need it. Like I said, I have people that say like, hey Lou, like I've got everything that I need from this now, like I'm just going to enjoy your hour-long episodes, because people do heal. That is the reason why I'm here, and that is the purpose of my podcast. I want you to heal, and I don't want you to feel like you have to rely on me 24/7 all the time. So I'm going to start creating some different tiers over there as well. So even if you just want to come over for a chat, I'm going to put like a subscription on that. So there'll be different tiers. So I'm going to sort all of that out this week. Got a very busy week. Anyway, I had a glorious weekend. Like I said, I went out for dinner with my sisters. We've got some very exciting things going on in my family at the moment. My sister and my brother-in-law and my mum and dad are off to Australia in a few weeks' time. So we were just kind of catching up, planning, talking about Australia, talking about what they're going to do when they get back. It was nice, and I wish I could say more on what was going on, but I can't. I'm going to be that person. I can't talk about it, but it's very, very exciting. So me and my sisters went out for dinner on Friday night. Love a sister night. We're very, very close, and we just laugh. We just laugh constantly. So we went and did a few things before. Then we went to Miller and Carter, which I've not been to for a very long time, and their gluten-free menu is so good. I didn't actually realise, and I'm not a big red meat lover. So when I went through all of the allergy tests that I did, I learned about what food did to you. And I was kind of like looking at the types of food that I was eating and the reactions that it was having to me. So I was having to really dissect what was on my plate, which was quite annoying. However, it did obviously end me to know that I had a gluten allergy, and now I feel much better. But when I was eating red meat, I was finding that it was like making me very bloated. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd be quite swollen, like my face would be quite swollen. And I know that different foods have impacts, like different impacts on everybody. So I really cut down my red meat consumption. And so I don't really eat a lot of red meat. So when my sister said, let's go to Miller and Carter, I was a bit like, oh, it's a steak place. Like, as much as I love a steak, I just wasn't in the mood. I knew that I'd be running long that morning. I did a 16-mile run that morning. But so I was like, do you know what? Actually, no, we'll try it. I've not been there since I've been gluten-free. I had the chicken and chorizo, and it was so good. Like, so good. The gluten-free menu was massive as well. You could get pretty much everything on there. You can kind of see the restaurants that trust themselves with batter and the restaurants that don't trust themselves with batter. And I feel like Miller and Carter is one of those places that doesn't trust themselves with batter, because anything that was like battered, like calamari and stuff like that, that wasn't on the menu. They also didn't have burgers, which I thought was quite strange. So again, it's just one of those things, whether they want to get in the gluten-free bread or whether they just offer things that they know are completely gluten-free, because I know that everywhere has to be so careful. But I had a really nice time, and then I got up on Saturday and I had a really productive Saturday. I looked at the clock when I went to the sauna and steam room at my gym. I was like, it's 9:45. It's 9:45 on a Saturday, and I got up, I'd done Pilates, I'd gone to do a quick shop, I'd then gone to the gym, but just gone to the sauna and the steam room. And then when I got out, went to my parents' house, picked up some labels, posted my Vinted. I was so productive. And then I went out, met my friends. One of my friends was playing rugby, so I went to meet the lads. We watched him play rugby, and then we went to the pub, and I had a jolly old time. I had a glorious time on Saturday night. So I love that part. I love that being my routine now. And I think I might have said it on my hour-long episode. When I was with my ex, we weren't the type to just go to the pub for a drink on a Saturday, because we were always doing other things. And it was always kind of, this is no offense to him whatsoever, everybody is different. But like, he never really used to suggest going to the pub. And my best friend and her fiance, I always get a message from them on a Saturday afternoon or a Sunday afternoon, whether like the sun's out in the summer and stuff, and they are at the pub and they have a drink and they walk there. And I really like that type of living. It's not that I was like stopped from doing it. That's not what I'm trying to say. But my ex just didn't enjoy it. And it took me a long while to kind of get out the mindset of like, I'm wasting my Saturdays at the pub. And then when my best friend was like, well, do you want to come to the pub with me after I finish playing rugby? I was like, yeah, and I'll come and watch you play rugby. Like, I'm into sport. I like watching sport. So yeah, let's go and do that. So I went with one of my other friends to watch him play rugby. And it was just so nice, because it's a different part of my routine. I can dip in and out when I want. And the guys are lovely there. And it's a community vibe. It's kind of like running. Everybody gets on because everyone shares a common interest of rugby. And I mean, I have no idea what's going on the pitch. Like, absolutely no idea. Take me to a football match and I will tell you exactly what's going on the pitch. Take me to a rugby game, not very clued up. And also, it's such a contact sport. I know that sounds a stupid thing to say, but like, it is such a aggressive sport. You can hear the skulls and the muscles just like clanging together. It's quite a slow game, obviously, with the tackling and stuff. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed the social aspect of it afterwards. And so we ended up staying out in the pubs till 12 o'clock, and then I very much needed to go home. I bought one drink. And for somebody that bought one drink for an evening, she was quite drunk. So I was obviously just saying yes to drinks being bought for me. And so obviously it's not my fault. It wasn't my fault I got drunk. It was everybody that was buying me drinks. And that is what I'm going to stand on. So I actually got up in the morning and I did have a bit of a wine headache, took some paracetamol, took some ibuprofen, went back to sleep, got up about 8:30, walked to get my car, which was like 3 miles away. I was supposed to run. I thought, you know what? No, I'm not going to. I'll just walk to get my car. Went and met my sisters after run club and then spent the rest of yesterday just chilling out. I did fall asleep on the sofa. It's so funny because I am forgetting that like I'm training so hard at the moment. And like last week I did 32.5 miles in 1 week. And I'm like laying on the sofa yesterday and I'm thinking, I was in bed by 12 o'clock. Like I went home when the pub shut. So I was in bed by 12. Why am I so tired? Like, why do I feel so tired? And then I forget that on the Friday I ran 16 miles, then got up, did a Pilates class. Like it's non-stop. My rest day on last week was Sunday. And like today I've got up, done a Pilates class. Monday's typically supposed to be my rest day, but I felt like I had the energy. So I just got up, did some exercise. And this weekend, I've got another really social weekend. Honestly, I feel like my weekends have been so social since Christmas. And this is like the downtime of the year. This is when people don't do anything. But I fear that now I'm going to be busier than ever, just all the way through the summer. And don't get me wrong, I love being busy. I'm going away as well soon, so that would be really nice. I've just got loads going on. Not to mention the fact that I'm on week 10 of my marathon training plan. This week I've got some insanely high mileage to complete, but we're going to do it. So anyway, this week I'm going to talk to you about the one question that I get asked constantly. I don't have an answer for it, but I'm going to talk to you about it. The one question that I constantly get asked is, how long did it take you to heal? And it's like, how long is a bit of string? I could not tell you when my healing started, stopped. I don't think that I'm fully healed now. I think I've healed from my ex. I don't think I've fully healed from my breakup. I get asked it a lot and I'm going to talk about it because I think a lot of people don't look at healing as actually being something that is a choice and that you have to choose to want to do it. I'm going to talk to you about that. So without further ado, guys, get yourself a drink. I've got my Stanley, peppermint tea, hot chocolate, glass of wine, depending on when you're listening to this. And let's get into it because I feel like this episode is going to hopefully make you come away with looking at a situation differently. I always think it's really good to get other people's opinions on certain things because it gives you a different perspective. So hopefully this is going to give you a different perspective on your healing journey and you might be more, not like encouraged to do more, but you might feel like you want to do a little bit more than you are already doing. So like I said, without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm going to start this episode off by talking to you about healing being a choice. And then in the second part of this episode, I'm going to talk to you about time and what you do with it and how it makes an impact on your healing. And so my notes, as always, guys, are over here. So sorry if my eyes, I always say to my dad, I look like I've got like really shifty eyes when I record because I'm like looking over like this. So I'm going to start with healing being an active choice. And I think this is funny because people always say to me and they'll message me saying like, how long did it take you to heal? And then when you're in that state of like heartbreak and you are trying to navigate all these new feelings that you've never had before, then when you hear someone say, oh yeah, it took me 2.5 years to heal, you're like, what? Because I always say if someone told me that it took them 2.5 years to heal, I would be like, are you kidding me? That is not something that I want to be a part of. And what they don't realize is in that 2.5 years, I have learned more about myself than I had done in the previous 10 years of my life. The last time I started learning really big lessons about myself was when I went to law school, and I really learned about my determination. I really learned about, trusting myself. I really learned loads and loads of things and like what I was actually capable of if I put my mind to something. And if you follow me on my running account, you'll hear me say a lot, anything is capable if you just put your mind to it. That used to be my tagline on all of my posts. And it really is true. But the last time that I fully kind of learned about myself was when I was at university. I did a really quite a hard degree. I pushed myself to my limits. I found it really difficult. I found my degree really hard. And then in the whole 2 years I've been healing, again, I've learned so much about myself. And what people don't ask me is, what have you done in that time? It's like, what have you been doing in that time? They just hear, oh my God, it took her 2.5 years to heal. And obviously my content on TikTok now can jump from being quite sad, and I'll speak about quite emotive things, to my now sort of healing journey, how I'm, smiling a lot more. I'm a lot more happier. I'm moving on with my life. And I think if I saw my content and I had just splitting up with my ex, and then I reached out to me and I said I took 2 years to get here, I would be panic station central. So I understand, but this is what I wanted to be able to achieve in this episode, was to be able to make you realize that actually, yes, it might take you 2 years, but in that time, you can actually achieve quite a lot. But healing is an active choice. It is an active choice. My therapist gave me this great analogy once, and hopefully this is going to make you sort of understand what I'm trying to get across in this episode. She said to me, when you cut yourself, you have no other option other than to wait for it to heal. It has to scab over, and then when it scabs over, it goes away. And you can't really contribute to that. Yes, you can keep it clean. Yes, you can put stuff on it, to make the healing speed up a little bit. But you actually can't do anything. That wound has to scab over and then it eventually fades. But emotional healing isn't like that. Emotional healing isn't passive. Emotional healing doesn't just happen to you. Just because 3 years has gone by doesn't mean that, 3 years has gone by, so it should definitely be over my ex. If you haven't done anything in that time to contribute to your healing, healing does happen over time. And I do think time is a healer. However, healing is an active choice. It's something that you have to actively choose to do day by day, just by like little things, like little things that I talk about, not avoiding your feelings, and all the little things that I talk about on my episodes. They're all the things that come together that contribute to your healing. And I found myself sat in my therapist's room like, I want this to be over now. I want to be able to be in the same position as my ex. I want to be able to be like happy and, totally okay with bringing somebody new into my life and, making a new life for myself. And she was saying, yeah, but you are healing from something traumatic, Liz. And if you just sit and wait, just like how, people don't heal and they just get into the next relationship and wonder why they keep having to get into loads of relationships. It's the same thing. If you just push it away and push it away and push it away and think, oh, it's been 6 months, or even like, for example, it being the end of February. It's the end of February now, so that's another month down. So, I've not done anything to contribute to my healing, but it's another month and time's a healer. You can't have that mindset because you will stall your healing. So healing is a choice. Yes, it takes time, but it is a choice because you get the chance to heal. And I think that's another thing that people don't realize, that you have the chance to heal. And the saddest thing is when people jump into a new relationship, like especially me now, when I look at people jumping into new relationships after they've gone through a breakup, I think, God, you have not wasted any time, but like you've given up the time that you could be really, really, really like channeling into yourself. And knowing how much I've learned, knowing how much I've achieved, knowing how much I've built in the last 3 years, whilst going through the hardest time of my life, whilst I've done all of that, I've also learned so much about myself. So if I was to just jump into a new relationship, I wouldn't have learned half the stuff that I have learned about myself. And I know that because I know that I would have just continued on in a role of being a girlfriend, because I think I said it on my Patreon last week. when I have all my friends over, and like when I have like my friends to stay and stuff, and I'm friends with a big group of boys and I'm friends with a big group of girls, but when I see the lads, I automatically take on this mothering role. And like, I make sure they've got enough food, I make sure they've got enough drink, I make sure that, if they're coming and they're staying over, they've got somewhere to sleep, I make sure that I can go and get them in the morning if they've gone somewhere. And like, I just take on that role, and I know that I would have just sat into that with somebody new. So I would have never come out of being a girlfriend. I would have just gone straight into continuing to be someone's girlfriend if I'd got into a relationship with somebody quite soon after. And I probably wouldn't have taken a step back and learned about myself and learned about the things that I might want to improve, and like the things that, I don't want to carry into a new relationship. I wouldn't have learned any of that had I not done the healing. So yes, when people say, oh my God, it's taking you 3 years to get over your breakup, it hasn't. It took me about a year and a half to fully accept that my relationship was over. It took me a very long time. Probably took me the same sort of amount of time to get over my ex-boyfriend, because I was with him for 14 years of my life, and I just don't ever feel bad saying that, because I think it would be weirder if it didn't take me that long. And again, like I've said, and I've been honest, I didn't meet somebody, I didn't have the distraction. It engulfed my entire life. So yes, that all took that time, and yes, I'm really honest about that. But it's also taken me 3 years to build an adult life from scratch. And I had an adult life that I built with somebody else, and this has taken me 3 years to build from scratch. And I don't think that's bad at all. And so when people talk to you about healing and say, and you're listening to me now and you're thinking, oh God, I've not got the strength to do that, I've not got that, I haven't got the ambition, I haven't got the drive. I didn't. All of that I've built up. It was probably on the back burner a little bit. And I've always dreamt really big. I have dreamt really big. I've always dreamt really big with absolutely no idea how I'm going to make my dreams come true. But I've always dreamt really big. Healing is a choice. You get the chance to heal. You are being given the chance to heal. If I had just jumped into another relationship, I'd have gone into that relationship with terrible abandonment issues. Awful abandonment issues, awful trauma, triggers that I didn't understand, and I'd have probably projected a lot of my pain onto somebody different. I had the choice to heal, and I took that choice, and it was the best choice I ever took. Yes, it took me a long time, but it was the best choice I ever took. Healing is most definitely a choice. And so I just wanted to talk about the timing around it, because I think when people say, how long did it take you to heal, and you say how long, they forget all of this. And so I want to just be able to remind you that when you talk about healing, you do talk about actions 100%. It's like, what hobbies are you picking up when you're practicing self-care and and being busy and stuff. And I am a big advocate for that. You do need to pick up new hobbies. It's healthy to pick up new hobbies. It's healthy to make friends. It's healthy to, when you want to start getting out there, start going to new run clubs or groups or whatever it may be. But healing isn't just about what you do. I talk a lot about what you can do. It isn't just about what you do. It's about how you spend your time with yourself internally. My therapist gave me the best analogy once, and she said, when you go to the doctors and they say, you've got this wrong with you. So you imagine yourself, you've gone into the doctors and you've said, I've got an awful pain in my chest. I can't get out of bed. My partner split up with me, and they said, I'm going to diagnose you with heartbreak. You have got heartbreak, and here's a pill, and you're going to take this for 6 months and you will be completely healed. In your head, you are taking something that is helping you heal. Would you then put your whole life on hold for 6 months just while you took all these pills? You wouldn't. You would get up in the morning and you would think, I'm doing something that is aiding my healing. I'm taking this tablet, and so I'm aiding my healing. So if you then apply that theory to your breakup, and you think that you are doing something little every day to contribute to your healing, you will start feeling a lot better about the fact that you're talking to people or coming into contact with people that are saying, it took me a year and a half, it took me 2 years to get over my ex. because you know that your life isn't going to go on hold. It's not going to go on hold. My life hasn't gone on hold. And, I'm not telling you, and I always say this, I'm not telling you to go and run marathons. It's how I dealt with having so much time on my own and being able to invest so much time in myself. I just chose to train and run marathons. But you have to remember that you can't go to the doctors and you can't get diagnosed with heartbreak and you can't take a pill for it. But you can apply that to your breakup, because you do know that you're heartbroken. You do know that it's heartbreak. Heartbreak is definitely real. And you can do little things every single day that contribute and aid to your healing. Because time itself will not heal you. You heal you. And like I said at the start, I just want to now talk about how you use the time. And I am not talking about having new hobbies or anything like that, or, starting to run marathons or doing anything like that. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about how you use the time to view yourself. Because a breakup just doesn't take away a person, it takes away your identity. And I met my ex when I was 14. And so when people were saying to me, life existed before him, yes, it did. Of course it did. But life at 14 existed before him. I still had bunk beds at my parents' house. He actually met me when I had bunk beds, and I had McFly pictures all over the walls. I had bright purple bunk beds that my dad had built for me. And then when I was 16, I changed my room around, got a double bed, had the bunk beds taken out. He was there through all of that. And when I think back to that, I think, my God, I was so young. So when people were giving me advice like, life exists before them, and you're like, yeah, but a date in those days was to the park or to McDonald's. I wasn't an adult, I was a child. So that sort of advice didn't help me. And I try and avoid advice like that, because a lot of people say life goes on, you were a person before you met them. And I think it wasn't kind of applicable for me, because I'd spent so long with him. I was one half of a relationship, but we were like half of each other. And this is funny because I plan these episodes like a couple of weeks in advance to like what I'm going to talk about, and then I add on and add on and add on as like ideas come to me in the randomest places, like when I'm in the shower, when I'm out on runs and stuff, and I'll always come back and add on to the episode description. But I actually bumped into a couple who me and my ex used to spend a lot of time with at the weekend, and I was speaking to them, and I used to really get on with them, and it was so nice to see them. I think I bumped into them in town, and it was quite soon after the breakup, so wasn't really being spoken about. And then I think I haven't really seen them since. And I mean, I was probably on my 9th glass of wine when I saw them. But we were talking, and we were just talking about everything, and we hadn't spoken about the breakup. People don't really bring it up with me because it's been such a long time. So they weren't talking about that. We're talking about their holiday home and stuff like that. And they said, you grew up together, and it's so rare to have that now. And because we grew up together, I didn't know who I wanted to be when I came out of the breakup. And he probably went through it as well. He probably thought, do I really want to do that? Do I really want to get into this? And, he might have been having those doubts whilst he was thinking about leaving and didn't really know how to address them with me. I don't know whatever's gone on. Anyway, we stood there, and I'm like, do you know what? That is so true. Like, we grew up together, and when I think about it now, we were 14 years old, and you go through so many different stages in your life, but we were constantly having to take each other into consideration. So I think I took the breakup so badly and took it so hard because I literally felt like I was one half of him and he was one half of me. And so when we split up, I was like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? And I mean, I talk about this a lot. I talk about the identity crisis a lot. But what I wanted to talk about in this episode was the fact that you are in the process of becoming, and this time that you spend with yourself is so important because you are building a version of yourself that can get through anything. So for me, when people say, oh my God, it's taking you 3 years. Yes, it's taken me 3 years. And, and I talk about buying a house and running marathons and, starting a business and doing all of this. And I'm making new friends, going to new places, experiencing things by myself. All of that is so important to have built, because honestly, when I went through my breakup, I felt like I lost everything. I felt like I lost everything. And then in 2024, when my ex made me redundant and I lost my job, I literally lost everything in the space of 2 years. Now, I don't play on this. Like, I don't really talk about losing my job in respects to like my ex being my boss, because it was last year and I'd processed the breakup a lot further. It was just kind of like I got made redundant. But if I actually broke it down, I lost my relationship, my house, and then my job, all in the space of 2 years. And people will argue, well, you could have gone and got a new job with, coming out the back of your relationship. You didn't have to work for your ex. I get that. I didn't need to do that. But in the headspace that I was in the best place that I could be in at that time. Working for my ex was kind of like a blessing and a curse at the same time, because I was able to take the time off and I was able to get the mortgage that I needed, enabled me to buy this house that I'm living in now. So I'd never tie in being made redundant with my breakup. I'd never ever say, the reason why I lost my job was because of him. The reason why I lost the house because of him. My breakup because of him. All the rest of it. But if I was to actually break it down, that's what's happened to me in the last 3 years. I literally lost everything and it came overnight. And I had nothing. I didn't have a house. I didn't have a job. I didn't have really my own financial stability. I lost everything. And this time of me going through this breakup, I have built everything back up. And now when I meet somebody, I know that I am never going to be in that position ever again, because I have taken the time to ensure that I have built something that is all mine. So when people say to me, oh my God, did it take you 3 years to heal? Yes, it did take me 3 years to heal, but I have built something now that I'm so protective of. I'm so proud of. I absolutely loved standing in the pub on Saturday and I was like, oh yeah, I live on here, on this close. And they were like, oh yeah, we know that close. And I was like, yeah, I live in a little three bed semi, like tucked away in the corner. It's really nice. It's really peaceful around there. Like I'm really happy there, and running routes are great. I was able to talk to people that knew me so well within my relationship, so well within my relationship. And then talking to them about what I had done and achieved since going through my breakup that didn't include a new relationship. They didn't even ask. They didn't even say, who are you seeing? Is there somebody new in your life? Because I think that if I wanted to tell them I was seeing somebody new, I would have said. But instead, I was talking about doing this, doing my podcast, and, where I'm going on holiday next. And they were talking about, where they're going on holiday next and all the rest of it. I'd realized in that moment that, yes, I've spent 3 years processing my breakup, but I've also built something that nobody can ever take away from me. When I lost my job, my first initial thoughts were, shit, I'm going to lose this house. I'm not going to be able to live anywhere. I remember saying to mum and dad, I need to get another job because I can't lose my house. And I'd worked so hard to get this house. It was so stressful moving, like selling my house and buying this house was so stressful. So I'm not going through it again. And found that I was so protective of it. Whereas like in my breakup, I had no financial means to be able to even think about keeping that house. It was far too much money to buy my ex out of. I didn't have that sort of money because, I always say, and I'm very open about the fact that I did financially depend on my ex a lot. I couldn't buy him out. I couldn't stay in that house. I wasn't homeless, but I was being made homeless. And, I always say credit where's credit's due with my ex. He did say that I could stay in the house. He paid for the mortgage whilst I was like finding my feet a little bit more. But I was effectively homeless because if I had not found this house And if you have me on Patreon, you know that I found this house and got this offer accepted on the very day that my ex left me the following year on. So I know that this house was meant to be. This house feels so special to me. And I just know that, I mean, I'm never going to sell it ever. I'll rent it out always and pass it down to my children, because it was like the starting block of my new life. And I remember saying to my therapist, I feel so lost. I feel so broken. I feel like I haven't got a purpose anymore. I feel like I'm not going to evolve into anything. I feel like this is going to be my life forever. And she said to me, this is how you are going to view yourself for the rest of your life if you do not take some action against how you view yourself. You have to view this time as you evolving. If you sit in the thoughts of you being broken, you won't come out of being broken. And I sat in the space of being broken for a very long time. And I talk about relapsing in June and stuff, but like I sat in that pain for so long. And now I know that if I was to get into a new relationship and it didn't work out, touch wood, that it always will work out now. But if it didn't work out, I know that I'm never going to be back in that position that I was in 2022. I have my own house. I have my own finances now. I have my own friends. I have my own stable life already built to bring somebody in. And I talk about it quite a lot in like my earlier episodes, in that you don't want to bring somebody into your chaos. You want to be able to bring them into something stable. You want to make sure that you have something whole. You want to make sure that you are building yourself back up in this time. You shouldn't see this as a waste of time. It isn't a waste of time. You have to get to grips with how you view yourself. And I always say, take yourself out of it. Looking as if you were watching you on the TV, what would you be shouting at yourself? Would you be shouting at yourself, you know, you're broken, you're never going to heal from this, you're going to be like this for the rest of your life? No, you wouldn't. If your friend was sitting in front of you, would you be saying, oh God, this is it now, end game? Could you imagine if some of my friends sat in front of me and were like, break up at 29, that's you, Lou. That's you done. You're never, ever, ever going to get over this, and this is going to be you for the rest of your life. You absolutely wouldn't say that to your friend. So why are you saying it to yourself? You shouldn't be saying it to yourself. You're allowed to be broken. You're allowed to go through the pain. Like I said, you wouldn't go to the doctors and say, can you cure me overnight? You'd be doing something. You'd be taking a course of antibiotics. You'd be taking that pill every single day. You need to be doing little things every day to make sure that you are healing internally with yourself, and you know that you are building something that is going to protect you in the future. Because I was literally left wide open to everything when my ex left. I wasn't protected from anything. I didn't protect myself from anything. I was out there fighting for my life on my own. You know, and I say that I don't have regrets with my breakup. I don't. But I fought a lot of battles by myself that I should have probably spoke up more about and asked for help for a little bit sooner. But like I said, a breakup isn't just the loss of a person, it's the loss of you. It's the loss of you and the version of you that loved somebody so much. And I'm just going to end with talking about this, because this was something that I didn't realize that I was doing. And my therapist told me that I was grieving a loving version of myself. And now I am very shielded and I am very guarded, in that I can't wait to love somebody new. And again, on my Patreon, I talk about having a bit of a jump scare the other week where I saw a photograph of my ex and it did the complete opposite to what I thought it would do to me. It actually made me feel excited about being able to love somebody that I literally looked at him as being a stranger. It was really strange, but I knew that how much I loved him, and I couldn't wait to be able to feel that excitement with somebody else. It had nothing to do with my ex whatsoever. It was just a very strange situation to be in, because I don't really see a lot of him on social media. It was a bit weird, but I had to grieve the loss of the person that I knew that loved so purely, and I loved so much. And everybody that comes into my life, I love wholeheartedly. And I was sad that I didn't get to be that version of myself, and that I had to show myself that version of myself. And love inwardly and not outwardly. But now I feel like my cup is like overflowing with self-love. Like I love myself so much. And I can't wait to take some of that overflow and put it into something new, because I know when I put it into something new, like I said, I've managed to heal and build something, not even build something in respect of like assets of like what I've got, but I've built this version of myself that is resilient. I've built a version of myself that I know for a fact that if I got into a relationship and it ended, I would be able to come back from it probably a lot quicker than I did from my first breakup. It's just been a huge, huge learning curve for me. And that isn't a learning curve in the way that, you know, I should have been more on it with the red flags. I should have been more on it with the gut instincts that I had. I should have questioned my ex a lot more. I'm not saying that it was any sort of learning curve with that. That is separate. Yes, that was a learning curve, but it's not what I'm talking about here. The learning curve was the fact that I felt like I had absolutely nothing when my ex left. And yet I had a whole person to look after, myself, and I didn't realize. And so when people say to me, how long did it take you to heal? I would love to say to them, please go and listen to my podcast episode on how long it took me to heal, because yes, it took me 3 years. And yes, it's still, you know, an ongoing thing. Like I say, I'm still in therapy. I'm still talking about my abandonment trauma. I still get really strange random triggers that I'm trying to deal with, and I've had emotional outbursts that, you know, I still want some time with a professional to work through because I found it so beneficial. But I have become somebody, and I have built from the ground up something that I will never ever lose ever again. I'll never lose myself. I'll never lose any of this life that I've built. I'm not going to lose any of it. So regardless of what happens in the future, I'm not going to lose any of it. It's all mine, and I have taken time to build that. And you might look at other people who have gone through breakups, and you might have seen that they've jumped into a relationship and they haven't got that. They've jumped into another relationship for, I don't know, being validated, or, you know, security, or filling a void, or whatever they've done. If they've jumped into that relationship, and you'll be able to tell that their lives aren't as protected as yours, and that if they lost that person, what would they also lose? Would they lose everything that came with it? Would their lives go back to normal? I think it's a very powerful place to be in, and I think it's a place where people don't realize when you say that you've taken this long to heal. They don't realize how much work goes into it. And so now I have an episode where people say, God, it took you 3 years to heal. And I can say, go and listen to this episode, go and listen to why it took me 3 years to heal, but also what I've done in those 3 years, not what I've achieved. I'm not, you know, saying behind this door there's 7 medals of marathons that I've run. I'm saying that I have built a person and a version of me that I am never going to lose ever again. I'm only going to add on to it. I'm only going to get better. I'm only going to get stronger. I'm only going to become more resilient. That's the mindset that you need to have. And so, yes, it's terrifying when someone says they've taken years to heal, but it's been the most eye-opening 3 years that I have had. And quite frankly, the most fun. Funnily enough, during this episode, my computer crashed. My poor little computer. My computer crashed, and my sister texted me saying, I've just been to TK Maxx and got some snacks. Do you want me to bring them round? They're gluten-free. And I was like, I've just lost a whole frigging segment of my podcast because my laptop crashed. So please, yes, bring round the snacks. And I was just sat there and we were just debriefing from the weekend. And she was like, oh, I didn't really get to speak to you on Sunday. Like, how was your night on Saturday? And I was like, I love my life so much. Like, I can't put into words how much I love this era that I'm currently living in. And people might look at me, and people my age, because I know for a fact if I was the married version of myself, still with my ex, I'd be looking at somebody and being like, oh my God, how is she getting through this? Like, how is she living like this? Because I wasn't in that era of my life. I wouldn't have been able to relate. I know that I'd be looking, thinking, oh my God, like, she's living her best life. I'm genuinely living my best life. It's chaotic. People call me hectic. I don't know whether I'm coming or going. My legs do not touch the ground. Monday and Tuesday, when I'm sat on this chair, is the only time I think during the week that I actually get to sit down. It's hilarious. My life is hilarious, but I'm having the best time. And I'm not saying to everybody, you know, heal for 3 years, live your best life, but just please know that taking time by yourself to rebuild yourself, to make sure that you become the best version of yourself for yourself, is honestly, it will be the hardest but the most fun that you ever have. Because I really, really like the life that I'm living now. And I really, really cannot wait for the future either. And I have, like I always say, I dream big. I have big dreams, big plans. It's only ever going to get better from here. Trust me. So if you're going to take anything away from this episode, it is that time does not heal you. You heal you. Time aids the healing, and you have got plenty of it. There is absolutely nobody putting a timer on your healing. It's so important that you do the healing and that you come out of the other side knowing that you've become a new version of yourself. Should excite you 1000%. I'd never thought I would be this version of myself. I could never see myself being this version. I could see myself being something, but it was never this version. I didn't think I was capable of living a life like this. So I hope that you have taken some things away from this episode. I hope that it has filled you with a lot of confidence and knowing that I've gone through something similar and that I've come out of the other side and this is how I've dealt with it and I've processed it. So like I always say, guys, if you want additional episodes where I talk a lot more on my mindset, a lot more on my healing, a lot more on like personal things, and like I said, like the house move and everything can be found on my Patreon. It's $4.50 a month. The link is in every single description on whatever platform that you are listening on. Go and join us over there. If not, I will see you either in my live on Thursday evening, because that's going to be a thing this week. So I'll see you in my Thursday evening live on TikTok. If not, I will see you back here on Friday. Look after yourself, guys. Have a great weekend. Bye.